What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at Godzilla vs. Kong, the first installment into Legendary's monster universe, and the coming together of its two biggest monsters. Okay, let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. Overall, I think Godzilla vs. Kong is a very fun and dumb action movie. This movie, to me, did not disappoint whatsoever. The long-awaited crossover of Godzilla and King Kong was decades in the making, ever since their first battle in the early 60s. These two characters have never crossed over, to the best of my knowledge, on film since their first initial encounter, like over 60 years ago. So it was fun to see these two characters cross over again with a more modern update. You can do more, and this movie delivers in spades whenever Godzilla and Kong are on screen fighting one another. Their battles are unimaginably entertaining. From that first battle when they're on a bunch of warships to when they have a big brawl in Hong Kong. Godzilla and King Kong, with the fight scenes, they're intense, they're brutal. It's like watching Power Rangers against fight a villain. It's good stuff. And I also love the third act, where they team together to take on a mutual threat, which I will get to later on in the review. But yeah, in terms of the action sequences between Godzilla and Kong, not disappointed whatsoever. In terms of how they develop Kong as a character, I like it. It goes back to the initial stages of Kong, where Kong is more smarter than people want to give him credit for, and this is seen through his relationship with a little Iwi girl, who is one of the last surviving members of the original tribe. At the start of this movie, Khan is inside a containment unit on Skull Island, but it's revealed that the greater Skull Island has been ravaged by a storm that was established in that first Kong movie, about Skull Island being contained in this never-ending storm. But now this storm has consumed most of Skull Island and has killed pretty much almost every single native that inhabited Skull Island, except for this little girl who has been adopted by this scientist named Andrews, played by Rebecca Hall. And this little girl also happens to be deaf, but through sign language, she's able to communicate with Kong. And the movie pretty much suggests that in addition to Andrews being a caregiver to the little girl, Kong has also took up a mantle being her protector as well. So I kind of like all that stuff. Like it's a nice little. It's different seeing a child being the one to interact with Kong, because she brings that innocence that Kong can see, and it also gives Kong a sense of it. So yeah, like Kong's relationship with the little girl gives him a more human side to him, because because the character of Kong, he is capable of communication if you're calm with him and if you're not attacking him, and if he doesn't feel threatened by you, he can communicate with you. You can communicate with Kong if you just give him a chance if you just give it a chance. And I like how the movie plays that up a little bit with the little girl. And of course, Kong and the girl, they do have a very strong relationship, which I really do enjoy. Now, on the flip side, you got the character of Godzilla. And Godzilla, in this movie, he's up to his old destructive ways, just breaking shit down, tearing shit apart. Pretty much his first appearance is him taking down this facility in Pensacola, this facility known as Apex. And Apex plays a big role in this movie, and I'll get to that momentarily. But at first, we don't know why Godzilla is attacking these facilities, is on the attack right now. This movie takes place about roughly 5 years after the events of King of the Monsters, give or take. So everyone's wondering why Godzilla is attacking and why he's causing all this destruction. Of course, it's revealed that Godzilla can sense the presence of other titans, and since Godzilla is the king, it's his duty to neutralize all these titans. Now, on the flip side, Kong ain't gonna bend the knee to nobody. He's an alpha predator himself. So you pretty much got these two apex predators who now have to fight for dominance. And this is what leads to the first initial counter on a bunch of battleships in the ocean. And this fight does not disappoint whatsoever. And Kong survives this by the skin of his teeth. He barely beats Godzilla in this first encounter. But it is a lot of fun. They're fighting on the ships. They're fighting underwater. I mean, this seems great. You get good utilization of Godzilla's powers, like the atomic breath, and you see Kong using pretty much whatever he can get his hands on and using his brute strength to try and stay toe-to-toe with Godzilla, and he doesn't back down. Kong's a badass, and Godzilla's another badass as well. So the fight scenes, fantastic. And then you get the second fight scene after Kong and a bunch of humans go through Hollow Earth. This movie pretty much pays off the idea of the Hollow Earth theory, which was established in Skull Island, was also brought up in King of the Monsters. We find out that Hollow Earth is the origin place of where the Titans come from, and it's beneath Skull Island itself. This is where Godzilla was from. This is where Kong's from. We get more history. We get more into Godzilla, into Kong's origins, as he finds this ancient axe, and we find out more of the ancient rivalry between Kong and Godzilla. And the whole Hollow Earth thing was fine. I mean, the explanation how to get there was very convoluted and made very little to no sense. But yeah, at least you got there. You get the ancient battle axe that is made from a dorsal fin of a previous Godzilla. And this is what all builds up to the rematch in Hong Kong, which is visually stunning. Before I talk about the second fight, the visuals in this movie are fantastic. Adam Wingard, as a filmmaker, he's very, very good. The cinematography in this movie is bright and colorful. It feels like a comic book come to life. Every single movie in the MonsterVerse post-Godzilla 2014 experimented with the cinematography in terms of how can we outdo it from the last movie. It's almost as if Gareth Edwards, in a way, inspired these people to, up their game in terms of cinematography, in terms of visuals. And this movie is no exception. This movie is visually stunning. The Hong Kong fight scene between Godzilla and Kong is fantastic in all its neon glory. I think it looks vibrant. I think it looks awesome. And just the look of Kong and Godzilla themselves, they have you can tell it's CGI, but it's CGI, but in a lot of areas, it can come across, it almost looks almost realistic in a way. So I like it. I love the look of this movie from a visual standpoint. It looks beautiful. It's like a comic book come to life. So back to the Hong Kong fight. So now that Kong's got his battle axe, he and Godzilla have the rematch. Of course, in this rematch, Godzilla gets the win and nearly kills Kong. And now we get to the final fight, in which it's revealed that this company of Apex, which is run by Damien Bachir's character of Walter, he's been trying to harness the power of Hollow Earth in order to operate Mechagodzilla, which is being controlled by the brain of the dead King Ghidorah. And through this, he's using Ren Serizawa, who is the son of Ichiro Serizawa. Now, I like the whole idea of having Serizawa's son in this movie. I do not like how the movie handled Serizawa's son. Like, we don't know who his son is. We don't know what his goals are. We don't know what he wants to do. Like, they kept him too mysterious to the point of, okay, you got to give this guy some credibility. Like, why? I mean, it would have been cool if you would have had, like, if his dad was still alive, and you could have had a father and son battle. Like, you have the original Serizawa with Monarch, who wants to preserve these Titans, and you have Ren Serizawa teaming up with Walter, who pretty much wants to make money off these Titans and want to harness their power for greed and corporate greed. And Ren Serizawa is on board with that. Like, it would have been interesting if you had like a little bit of a real father-son dynamic. Of course, you can't have that because you killed Serizawa off in Godzilla 2. And now you're stuck with his son Ren, who has zero personality, barely says anything, and he's just there. And the only thing he does is operate Mechagodzilla. But since Mechagodzilla has the brain of King Ghidorah, it easily overcomes everything and kills everyone in this facility. And this is where Mechagodzilla escapes and goes on a rampage. Of course, getting to Mechagodzilla is this little side story with Madison, her friend Josh, and this character named Bernie, and the character Bernie is an Apex employee who is also a conspiracy theorist podcaster. These three characters come together and unravel this mystery of what Apex is doing. And what they're doing is that they're trying to pretty much create their own Mechagodzilla, trying to create their own Titan, and they want to use an ancient power source in order to control it. So, yeah. The side plot is very convoluted. It's very just confusing, and it feels like filler when compared to the A plot, which is Dr. Lind, Andrews, and Jai trying to find Hollow Earth. With Dr. Lind played by Alexander Skarsgård. I'm just gonna say this: in terms of the human characters and their performances, they're fine. There's nothing really to these characters at all. Dr. Lind is pretty much like a beta male in a way, always presented as a coward. You have Dr. Andrews, who has a little bit more authority to her, and the character and her adopted daughter Jai. And then you have Damien Bachir's character as Walter, the CEO of Apex. He's okay. He's like a Machiavellian villain in a sense, but where in which he thinks what he's doing is for a greater good, but it's really going to cause more problems in the end, and exactly what it does, because you're using the brain of King of Ghidorah, who is a Titan of independent thought, and Ghidorah, well, he ain't gonna bend his knee because he's not from this earth. He's from outer space. He's his own thing, and he completely takes over Mechagodzilla. And this is what leads to a rematch, in a sense, between Godzilla and Ghidorah. But now Ghidorah is in the body. It has the body of a Mechagodzilla. So pretty much Ghidorah has the powers of Godzilla in order to try and kill Godzilla, in which he nearly does, until Kong comes in, saves the day, and Kong goes completely apeshit, no pun intended, on Ghidorah and just kills his ass. But I like how this also leads to a mutual truce between Kong and Godzilla as they become a team to take down the greater threat. So I like it. I love how the ending of this movie, Godzilla won one, Kong got one, then they come together to beat Godzilla, to beat a Mechagodzilla in a handicap match, so to speak. So I like how that gets paid off. And I like how Kong and Godzilla come to a mutual truce with one another, almost as if saying, hey, listen, there are more threats out there that are bigger than you and me. It's best if us two kings stick together. And that's kind of what they do at the end. So I like it. I think all that stuff was really well done and very, very well handled. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about Godzilla versus Kong. At the end of the day, this movie did not disappoint me in terms of its monster action. It didn't disappoint me in terms of how it handled Godzilla and King Kong. As usual with the MonsterVerse, the human characters are what bring these movies down, because they're just not interesting and they're all just surface level. Like, you have Kyle Chandler in this movie as Mark Russell, reprising his role from Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Kyle Chandler was in the Peter Jackson King Kong movie, and he has no interaction with Kong. You had a golden opportunity to have Kyle Chandler interact with a more modern update of Kong and maybe do a joke off that. And this movie didn't even do that. Like, Kyle Chandler's barely in this movie. He's in the first 2 minutes, and then he's in the last 2 minutes. And after that, the movie is just his daughter running around with her friend and some dude doing fuck all. So it's a waste opportunity. Not only that, Godzilla King of the Monsters also established that Brooks is still alive from Skull Island, played by Joe Morton. Where's Brooks? Where is he? He's nowhere to be found. It's like, this MonsterVerse establishes characters that could be interesting, and then they just forget about them or just don't even use them in later movies. Like, Brooks could have been a good connective tissue from Skull Island to King of the Monsters to here. He could have easily assumed that Dr. Serizawa role as like the new head of Monarch. Instead, he's like nowhere to be found, which is very irritating. Because, and again, I have a bias because I like Joe Morton as an actor, but still, Brooks is an established name. You could have done so much more. But alas, it didn't happen. But for what we did get with this movie, I enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong. This is a fun action movie of two monsters just kicking the shit out of each other, which is why I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. Those are my thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.